3,000 years ago, the most powerful man on earth took his final breath. An empire held its breath with him. Egypt had lost its king, but history had not. Inside the royal palace, priests hurried through endless corridors. Servants whispered in fear. No one dared speak above a whisper. The greatest ruler of Egypt was dying for 66 years. His voice had commanded armies. His decisions had shaped kingdoms. His monuments had reached toward the heavens. Now, silence filled the room. When the king finally closed his eyes, an entire civilization believed they had witnessed the end of a living god. His body would soon disappear beneath layers of linen, hidden inside a royal tomb, buried beneath the Egyptian desert, never to be seen again. Or so they believed. Centuries passed, empires rose. Empires fell, languages changed, religions spread across continents. The world transformed, yet somewhere beneath the sands of Egypt, the king waited. Then, thousands of years later, human footsteps echoed through ancient corridors once again. Every breath disturbed dust that had remained untouched for centuries. Every step brought them closer to one of history's greatest discoveries. When the wrapping was finally uncovered, they expected to see death. Instead, they found a face, a nose, a jawline, thin lips, wrinkles still etched into ancient skin. This wasn't merely a mummy. It looked astonishingly human. Even strands of reddish hair still remained. A king looking back across 30 centuries. How could this be possible? How could one man survive the destruction of time itself? The answer begins long before the tomb, long before the pyramids faded beneath the desert wind. It begins with a young prince, a prince who dreamed not simply of ruling Egypt, but of becoming immortal. To understand why his face still astonishes the world today, we must first understand the man who believed history itself could be conquered. Ramesses was born into greatness. His father, Pharaoh Seti I, ruled one of the most powerful kingdoms on earth. But in ancient Egypt, being born a prince guaranteed nothing. A future king had to prove he deserved the throne. From childhood, Ramesses was trained to become something far greater than a ruler. He learned military strategy, diplomacy, religion, law, and the sacred responsibility of protecting Egypt itself. By the time he reached adulthood, he had already marched beside his father's armies. He had seen victory, he had seen death. And he understood one lesson better than most kings. Power was never permanent. When Seti I died, the young prince inherited not only a throne, but one of history's greatest empires. The world was watching. At only 25 years old, Ramesses became pharaoh, the living bridge between humanity and the gods. But greatness was never measured by a crown alone. A king had to prove himself, and soon the greatest challenge of his reign arrived. Far to the north, another empire had risen. The Hittites, powerful, wealthy, determined to control the ancient world. Collision was inevitable. Both kingdoms wanted the same prize, the prosperous city of Kadesh. Whoever controlled it controlled the trade routes of the Near East. In 1274 BC, two superpowers marched toward one another. Neither intended to retreat. The Battle of Kadesh had begun, one of the largest chariot battles the ancient world had ever seen. At one terrifying moment, Ramesses found himself surrounded. Enemy chariots closed in from every direction. The king stood alone. Egyptian inscriptions claim the pharaoh refused to flee. Instead, he charged directly into the enemy. Modern historians debate the exact details, but there is no doubt his courage became legend. The battle ended without a decisive winner. Years later, something extraordinary happened. Instead of endless war, Egypt and the Hittites chose peace. It became one of the earliest known peace treaties in human history, a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories are won without another battle. The world now knew Ramesses as a warrior, but he wanted something even greater. He wanted to build monuments so magnificent that people would still speak his name thousands of years after he was gone. And that dream was only just beginning. After Kadesh, Ramesses understood something few rulers ever did. Battles could be forgotten, empires could fall, but stone could outlive them all. So instead of conquering more kingdoms, he began conquering time itself. Across Egypt, construction never stopped. Thousands of workers carved mountains. Engineers transported stones weighing dozens of tons. Entire cities became living workshops dedicated to one man. The greatest of these monuments rose beside the Nile, Abu Simbel, not simply a temple, but a message to the entire world. Each statue towered over 20 meters high. Visitors approaching from the south would see them long before reaching Egypt. They weren't just sculptures. They were a warning. Every wall inside the temple told the same story. Ramesses victorious. Ramesses powerful. Ramesses chosen by the gods. History itself became his greatest monument. Yet perhaps his greatest achievement wasn't carved into stone. It was peace. For decades, Egypt flourished, trade expanded. Harvests filled the royal granaries. The empire reached one of the most stable periods in its long history. The years passed. Children became adults. Soldiers grew old. Entire generations knew only one king. Ramesses had become more than a ruler. He had become Egypt itself. But even kings cannot command time forever. The warrior who had once raced across battlefields now walked slowly through his own palaces. His body carried the weight of nearly 90 years. His joints ached, his teeth had worn down. Age had begun to claim the body, but never his determination. He continued ruling until the very end. Around the age of 90, one of history's longest reigns came to an end. The greatest pharaoh Egypt had ever known was gone. Across Egypt the mourning began. Temples fell silent. Sacred rituals echoed through the kingdom. The journey to eternity had begun. For 70 days, royal embalmers worked with extraordinary precision. Every ritual, every prayer, every layer of linen was meant to prepare the king for eternal life. The Egyptians believed death was only another beginning. If the body survived, so too could the soul. Protecting the king's remains became a sacred duty. At last, the royal procession reached the Valley of the Kings, deep beneath towering cliffs. The greatest ruler of Egypt would sleep in darkness. The tomb was sealed. The final torch extinguished. Silence returned to the mountain. For more than 3,000 years, no one imagined that the king's greatest journey had not even begun. For centuries, the Valley of the Kings attracted thieves. Golden treasures disappeared. Royal tombs were broken open, one by one. Egypt's greatest kings lost the riches they had carried into eternity. To save the royal mummies, Egyptian priests made a desperate decision under the cover of darkness. They secretly moved the bodies of their greatest pharaohs, including Ramesses II, hidden inside a remote cliffside cache. The king waited once again, unknown, undisturbed, forgotten by the world. Almost 3,000 years later, the silence finally ended. Archaeologists had found the hidden resting place of Egypt's forgotten kings. Among them lay the greatest pharaoh of them all, Ramesses the Great, still waiting. When scientists examined the mummy, they were astonished. His facial features remained remarkably recognizable. His long nose, his powerful jaw. Even strands of reddish hair still survived. Modern technology revealed even more: CT scans, X-rays, scientific analysis. For the first time, researchers could study the body of a king who had ruled more than 3,000 years earlier. Then, something extraordinary happened, not in ancient Egypt, but in the modern world. In 1976, experts discovered fungi were threatening the mummy. If nothing was done, history itself could slowly disappear. Egypt made an extraordinary decision. Ramesses II would leave his homeland. 3,000 years after his death, the king would fly across the Mediterranean. According to widely reported accounts, he was even issued an Egyptian passport, identifying him as a king before the journey, a ruler traveling internationally. After more than 3,000 years, French conservation experts worked carefully to stabilize the mummy. Every treatment, every examination, was dedicated to preserving one of humanity's greatest historical treasures. When Ramesses returned to Egypt, he wasn't welcomed as a forgotten relic. He returned as one of history's most recognizable kings. Millions of people have now stood before his face, not reading about history, looking directly into it, into the eyes of a man who once ruled the greatest civilization on Earth. Ramesses spent his life searching for immortality. He built temples that touched the sky. He carved mountains into monuments. He covered Egypt with his name, but in the end, his greatest monument wasn't built from stone. It was his own story. More than 3,000 years after his final breath, the king still speaks, not through his voice, but through the civilization he shaped, the monuments he left behind, and the face that still refuses to be forgotten. Because some rulers conquer kingdoms, some conquer history, but only a few conquer time itself. This was Ramesses the Great.